There's one more situation, look, that's gonna leave Ignacio in a truly desperate moment. It's the Odebrecht case. I came by here this morning. It's the case of the Hamas issue, where Trump is negotiating an amnesty. Let's see what these people are going to say, because they're going to support the amnesty for Hamas. But if you stop to think, there's a fact that's making this group desperate. Remember the fighter jets? That the United States have proposed an investigation back in the Biden administration. Now, people here are warning Eduardo Bolsonaro that this has to go through Trump. They need to know what's going on. There are so many facts that these guys went to mess with the sovereignty of the United States. Like, nobody can mess with it here, but over there they can mess with it as much as they want. This is a case that will bring down not only Ignacio, but even his son. The minister today, the Minister of Injustice, Ricardo Lewandowski, was the one who benefited Lula in all these matters. We're going to show everything here. Hit that like button. There's news and information to share here. While you're at it, come join our family. Guys, everything is very well explained. All right, correct. All set for Trump to see. Take a look. Lewandowski blocked a corruption investigation in the purchase of fighter jets. Months before retiring from the Supreme Court, Lewandowski made a decision that favored Lula. Here it comes. The United States government, Lewandowski. He has had his visa revoked. He can't enter the United States. He went there to the United Nations probably because of that agreement with the United Nations, right? That the United Nations hosted the event and all, but he can't enter the United States. He was nominated by Lula. He made decisions that favored Lula when he got to the United States government. Meanwhile, investigations are advancing in the United States into suspicions of corruption in the purchase of 36 Swedish Gripen fighter jets by the Lula government. Here, the process did not move forward because of Ricardo Lewandowski's decision. Or look at Odebrecht making progress there now. Here it was blocked. And it got out of jail and removed the fines for several people linked to Lula. Supreme Court Justice decided to close the case. In the United States, the Department of Justice is investigating the purchase of the 36 aircraft. In the multi-billion-dollar deal started in 2008 by Lula and concluded by Dilma, the purchase cost 5 billion and 400 million reais to renew the fleet of fighter jets of the Brazilian Air Force. In other words, it will implicate both Lula and Dilma. Dude, look at this. The American subsidiary of the Swedish company FAB was also subpoenaed to provide information about the contract. In 2016, Lula was indicted by the Federal Public Prosecutor's Office on suspicion of influence peddling. Lula, of course, denies any wrongdoing. In February, shortly before retiring, Lewandowski signed the order, closing the case. Months later, the minister leaves the Supreme Court for the Ministry of Justice, invited by the Partido dos Trabalhadores member to head the department. In 2023, there, at the very beginning of the government back in February, Lewandowski closed the case. Imagine if the United States had access to all this. Check the organizational chart to see. Eduardo, he put here 2016. Investigate if Lula's son made 2.5 million reais from the sale of the Gripen fighter jets. This still happened. The federal police suspects Lula's son got money during the Brazilian Air Force's fighter jet purchase. Now it's already Lula, Dilma, and his son, and the son of the offspring. In 2022, Lewandowski suspended this case. He suspended it. In 2023, he closed it. October 2024. there in the Biden administration. Also, the United States requests documents to investigate the purchase of the Gripen fighter jets. In December, the contract for the fighter jets is still valid. Lula wants to buy fighter jets from China now. Now he wants to bring China into the deal. The United States Department of Justice requests information from Saab North about the 2014 Gripen fighter jet acquisition in Brazil. With the Gripen unfinished, Lula's Air Force may order Chinese jets as he seeks business with China. Guys, each new thing that comes up is more scandalous than the last. Look here, Lewandowski has suspended the case against Lula regarding the fighter jet purchases. Ricardo Lewandowski has temporarily suspended the proceedings in the case where Lula is accused of committing influence peddling crimes. Money laundering criminal organization. The crimes would have arisen from the Brazilian Air Force's purchase of the Swedish Saab Gripen fighter jets. Operation Lula. This is here on the STF's own website. Do you want to see the time from when it was? 2022? The decision was made in the records of the complaint in which Lula's defense requests the dismissal of the criminal case initiated based on the alleged evidence produced within the scope of Operation Car Wash and used for the indictment filed before the 10th Federal Court of the Federal District. According to Lula's defense, audios from Operation Spoofing, it shows that during Operation Car Wash, they had already referred to it as the Lula plan to promote repeated baseless accusations. In his decision, the rapporteur states that the purchase of aircraft took place strictly within the constitutional parameters of legality, legitimacy, and cost-effectiveness. That so far, more than 7 years after the contract was signed, there has been no report of any challenge. Because obviously it's here in Brazil, but the investigation continues in the United States. It continues, and here in Brazil, they're even requesting the reopening of the investigation. Hey, look here. Former Security Commission President, Congressman Sanderson, Partido Liberal, asked the Attorney General's office to reopen investigations into Lula over the purchase of the 36 fighter jets. In Gonei's hands. In Gonei's hands, we know what's going to gonetize, right? Professor Pardal is going to pardalize this operation too. The request for information was revealed by Saab itself. So what happened? Look here at how many news stories from that time. Lewandowski stops probe into Lula's fighter jet purchase, now serves as his minister. Saab, a Swedish company, says the United States asked for details about its fighter jet sale to Brazil. Now look. For less, they accused Moro of bias and similar things. Now, the guy who always favored Lula in justice as a Supreme Court minister, man, unbelievable. Look at the investigation here. The Swedish aircraft manufacturer was summoned by the United States Department of Justice. Look, this is starting to move forward. Lula is in trouble. The FX2 program, Brazil's fighter jet procurement competition, ran from 2008 to 2014. Both Brazilian and Swedish authorities have previously investigated parts of the process. Look at these cases here. Here, of course, it's a fighter jet and all, but if you look at the modern technology available today, especially in the major countries, it's just a toy. You're welcome. It's only for tracking. Borders, here in Brazil. 36 fighter jets, that's nothing. Guys, if we compare armed forces, the United States, I think they have more than 2,000, 3,000 fighter jets, one of the most powerful in the world, right? The Brazilian Air Force and Saab signed the contract in 2014 with the planes built in Sweden. Saab claims the fighter jet is one of the world's most advanced models, but that's expected since they're the seller. The new fighter jet reaches 2,400 km/h. Take a look. This will cause a commotion. More news from the United States summoning the Swedish manufacturer. We have information here from Colonel Meira that he's trying to get it to Eduardo Bolsonaro. Let's watch the video here.
Brazil. Last year I made this report here on my social media.
The Gripen F-39 model arrived in Brazil in 2022. The contract between the Brazilian government and the Swedish company, Saab, was signed in 2014. During
money laundering, what do we already know? Claudio Lula. filed by the then Supreme Court Minister Ayer in the Brazilian government in favor of SAB. According to the complaint, Luiz Claudio, Lula's son, received about 2.5 million reais from a businessman connected to the scheme. However, the investigations in Brazil were filed by the then Supreme Federal Court Minister Ricardo Lewandowski, who closed the case in 2022, claiming lack of evidence. It is worth remembering that Lewandowski joined the Supreme Federal Court by Lula's nomination in 2006, and since 2023, he has been the Minister of Justice under President Lula.
Eduardo Bolsonaro, it's time for you to present this complaint to Marco Rubio, because this involves Lula, Lula's son, and the Minister of Justice in Brazil. This is corruption. It's a crime. They harmed the American company in the purchase of the Gripen fighter jets. Take this matter to Marco Rubio urgently. In the United States, corruption crimes don't expire like they do here in Brazil. I'm sending you this video and all the material you need. Let's go after corruption then.
I'm already giving you the tip, just letting you know. Share this video a lot, share it a lot. The United States, my friends, unlike here, they investigate absolutely everything. Nothing goes unnoticed. If they think that this won't lead to anything. Corruption has no statute of limitations in the United States. The Odebrecht case shows how everything is connected. Lava Jato, Gripen jets, Lula's son, all of them, guys, it's so much corruption. Look, if the United States look at their bad luck and good luck at the same time, if the United States investigates all the corruption they've committed just there in the United States, I think Trump's term will be over. Just by doing that, and they still won't find everything. He will have to stop everything that's happening there in the United States. To put all those people in jail. Man, it's impressive. How Partido dos Trabalhadores, Lula, Dilma, all those people, they can tie a knot in a leaky roof. They really can. I think it's on a large scale. There's so much corruption, so much. He says like this, look, there's no time for anyone to investigate. They take one case, then another, yeah. For sure, they won't be able to catch them all. And do you guys have any idea how much corruption there is just here in Brazil? It's overlooked because there's so much that a lot of other things just don't come to light. Huh? Oh, party of darkness, guys. It's a party of darkness. Something like this just isn't possible. When we think one problem is over, another one comes up. One ends, another comes, then another and another. It's surreal. It's unbelievable. The way this group operates is surreal. And then we have to rely on another country to solve our internal issues here because of all the mess this group makes. The American government is considering sanctions on the Brazilian armed forces, especially aviation. Remember, the new Gripen fighter jets use engines made in the United States. The engines are from the United States, chips and sensors from the United States. 30% of the parts are American. So, there's no way out, no way out. Here, more news. Here, people are talking about everything and so on. There won't be anywhere to run. Look, Odebrecht, the case I mentioned before about Hamas now, about the fighter jets, my God. If it took a little longer, just a little bit more, they could have taken all those people there, carried the United States on their backs, and brought it here to Brazil. It wouldn't take long, it's not hard to believe, right? By ordering fighter jets for their air force, Colombia and Peru are joining Brazil, which has been operating SAB models since 2022. Currently, Embraer leads the development, production, and testing of the Gripen at the Gavião Peixoto manufacturing facility. All of this right here, okay? Information from Sputnik Brazil. It's surreal and unbelievable to see all these people. What a tough crowd, huh? Really hardcore. Share this video on WhatsApp, Telegram, and Facebook. Everything is falling apart. I'm going to investigate everything, guys. This group can't leave Brazil again due to their agreement, since Brazilians can't be deported, right? Or does it depend? If they're a Bolsonaro supporter, then I think they might make an exception. But it's hard, isn't it, to find a Bolsonaro supporter? Unless it's a thought crime, which is very serious. But that's not the case. They're not Lula's or Dilma's children. The thing is to talk about the outrageous things they do. Share it, smash the like button, help it reach more people. And come be part of our family here on the Paise Philos channel by subscribing to the channel. I'll be back soon with more news and information here on the Paise Philos channel.